My professor failed me for rejecting his advances, so I made him fail his entire career. Professor White had this gross system where pretty girls either went to dinner with him or failed his class. Catherine was getting straight A's until she turned down coffee and suddenly failed every assignment. Melissa had a full scholarship until she said no to his private tutoring and lost everything. Rebecca was pre-med until she spent one semester trying to avoid him and ended up switching to business. Everyone knew what he was doing. Spring semester arrived and I became his next target. It started with mandatory office hours that somehow only applied to me. He'd lean over my shoulder to check my work and breathe on my neck. His hand would linger on my back when pointing out mistakes. When I started bringing study partners, he changed tactics completely. He cornered me after class suggesting dinner to discuss medical school recommendations. I politely declined and my next paper came back bleeding red ink. C- for work identical to my friend's A paper. That's when the pattern became obvious. All his research assistants were pretty brunettes who looked dead inside. Catherine used to raise her hand constantly but disappeared last semester. The new favorite, Amy, just stared at her desk. During department mixers, these girls would cluster together speaking in whispers. He called me for a private meeting the following week, closed the door and perched on his desk above me. You seem stressed, he said. Medical schools want more than grades. They need to see you can build relationships with mentors. Be friendlier, more open. The threat hung between us like smoke. Play along or watch my dreams die. Finals week arrived and he failed my paper completely. I'd followed every requirement and cited everything perfectly, but he gave me a 0. During our last lecture, he announced that some students simply lacked what it took for medicine. He stared directly at me when he said it. The scholarship office emailed me that same afternoon. Academic probation meant my funding was suspended. 4 years of work destroyed because I wouldn't have dinner with a predator. Later that week, I found Catherine working at the campus coffee shop. When I asked why she'd dropped out, she looked around nervously before leaning in. You're not the first, she whispered. Won't be the last either. His wife is the dean's daughter. Complaints go nowhere. Standing there watching her make lattes with her pre-med dreams dead changed something in me. I wasn't going to run away. I was going to end him. Through campus gossip, I learned White had one major weakness everyone whispered about. He played poker with other professors every Friday and the stakes were huge. His teaching assistant Brian hated him, but needed the recommendation letter for grad school. Over beers, Brian told me White owed money to some seriously sketchy people. The professor kept borrowing from department funds to cover his losses. He thought he was smarter than everyone else at cards. I spent 3 weeks learning poker strategy online and studying the psychology behind it. I also watched old faculty party videos where White played casual games. His tells were obvious when you knew to look for them. Meanwhile, I had Brian casually mention that some rich donor's daughter was looking for high-stakes games. The faculty had this underground tournament coming up with a $50,000 buy-in. White's eyes practically glowed when he heard about the bored rich girl who wanted to play. The tournament took place in a hotel conference room downtown 2 weeks later. I borrowed designer clothes and arrived playing the perfect trust fund princess. 5 professors bought in, but White commanded the table. His confidence grew with each whiskey. I deliberately lost early hands while giggling about not understanding poker. White couldn't resist explaining everything condescendingly. He touched my shoulder while pointing at cards. The other professors exchanged disgusted looks, but stayed quiet. By midnight, only 3 players remained. The pot hit $70,000. White had downed 5 whiskeys and started telling stories. He bragged about female students he'd failed for refusing him. Named them like hunting trophies. Catherine the pre-med, Melissa the scholarship girl, Rebecca who switched majors, 4 others I'd never heard of. Best part of tenure is being untouchable, he laughed. 9 complaints filed and I'm still here. Collins from economics looked sick, but kept dealing cards. The final hand came together perfectly. I held a royal flush while maintaining my dizzy heiress act. White barely checked his full house before shoving all chips forward. Then his ego demanded more. He grabbed hotel stationery and wrote an IOU for his tenure position. Made Collins witness it. Betting my whole career against this silly little girl, he announced. I matched and raised everything. He called instantly. My cards destroyed his world. His smirk melted into horror as I dropped the act. Actually, professor, I'm the one you failed last semester. Remember? No dinner, no passing grade? White's face went white. Collins backed away from the table. His phone started buzzing. Right now, Brian's filing complaints from 8 of your victims. Oh, and your wife just got a package about your gambling debts. He stared at the cards like they might change. They didn't. The university revoked his tenure within 2 weeks. His wife divorced him and no school would hire him after the scandal. He deals cards at a riverside casino now. Players avoid his table because he reeks of desperation. I started medical school with a full scholarship that fall.